What's unusual is we don't get freshman teams a lot. The reason why is like a kid going into high school kind of wants to see what everything's about, you know, hang back just a little bit. And so they don't volunteer for a lot of stuff their freshman year. We tend to get them, but the stars were aligned or whatever, and got a lot of freshmen this year that are just gung-ho, involved, work well together.
Yeah, we were very fortunate this year. We had a very, very strong group of freshmen come in. They were ready to learn. They took what we were trying to get to them. They took them a little while at first, but as soon as the competition started, they had no problems.
Awesome.
That's good.
So, you know, someday, Maria, you'll be looking back and you'll be sitting back and you'll have maybe one of your grandchildren sitting on your knee, and you'll be thinking about back, when it all started.
Oh, you mean she can go out with boys after a while?
Well, yeah, of course.
Oh, okay.
Of course, yeah,
Okay.
Whatever.
I thought you gave her a blanket.
Well, no, I mean, I'm being serious with the youngsters, because the thing is, and here's the danger, and this is going to sound a little bit chauvinistic, so I want to profess this, I want to crop it properly. People a lot of times when they're attractive, what happens is they go to high school, and then because they're good looking, people ask them out to go out a lot, and so they end up spending more time in social environments and developing their social skills rather than going and spending time on their mental skills. The mental skills will carry you for a lifetime. The social skills gives you access to more people, be more popular and friendly. But it's a big distraction. It's a big distraction for school. So when I say don't date or before you do your math homework, it's really just because you have the rest of your life to go out there and meet the right person and do that. But at this point in your life when you're young and your brain is just full of, it's like a sponge, ready to take it all in, this is the time to work your mind. Just fill it up with all your knowledge. And then the rest of your life you'll learn. You're not going to stop learning. But you want to get that time because you're competing with other people. Other people are learning, and if other people are learning more, then they could get the better jobs maybe, and it's a competition. It's survival of the fittest in many ways, and like I said, you have your whole lifetime to find the right people, and sometimes when we're young we rush into things too quickly. We get hooked up too quickly. Nothing wrong with having kids when you're young, but sometimes it can slow you down from the other things like in achieving some of your important goals. So my advice is there's a right time for everything, and the time right now is education for you. And because really, you could be like in charge of the National Science Foundation. You could be administrator of NASA. You could be the Office of Technology and Science. I'll say you could also be the president, but in my opinion, that's setting your sights low because because if you can be in charge of the National Science Administration or NSF, when you're in charge of science, you can create possibilities for the future of this planet. Well, it pays well, but you can be the source of possibly the source of change, the source of unlimited number of things that can save people's lives. Ultimately, what we do, if it makes the quality of people's lives better, if we make the planet a better place, then we've brought more than we take in. So I always encourage people to go into an area where they can make a difference and hit the books hard. So when you come out, you are sharp, you're on top of it, and nobody ever pulls the wool over your eyes. That's the other thing. If someone's trying to pitch you some idea, and you've done a little bit more math than them, a little more studies, you can look at them square in the eye and say, "Well, thank you for your sharing, and thank you for your ideas." And you need to know what the truth is, and as you go forward.
They're all the way back to the surface.
So, I know you do all that and more. No pressure, Maria.
Thank you. You reminded me when you mentioned education and how it's so important. One of my coaches from middle school, he always told us that kids nag and nag and nag about getting free this and free that. Education is free in this country, and that's the one thing we don't take advantage of.
I'm glad you reminded me of that, because when I was talking about in Mexico, I'm quarter Mexican, quarter Peruvian. My grandfather was born in Mexico, my grandmother from Peru. My grandfather had a third grade education, my grandmother had eighth grade education. But one thing my grandmother always said was get that degree. It was more important that I got that college degree. It's the most important thing to her. And it's because, education brings opportunity. And the thing about when I saw the kids in Mexico at 11, 12 years old, working in the fields in Michoacan, they were not going to go beyond that. They were going to become farmers, and they couldn't because the family needed the money to survive. And it wasn't like they didn't want to. They just didn't have the opportunity. And so in America, we have free education. I mean, I say free. We're paying for the kids they learn. It's not free to the taxpayer, but it's free for the kids from the standpoint of, it's the best chance for them to get a great education. If you look at the rest of the world, a lot of people don't have those opportunities. I want to thank you, Marie. You woke me up too. I'm awake now.
Thank you so much for all of your advice.
No.
I will keep it in mind.
Woohoo!
I'll make a note of it.
There you go. It's all good. You take it all in and make your decisions. That's what it's all about.
It looks like the freshmen have a leak.
Oh!
It looks like yeah, looks like they're having trouble with their cameras. It wasn't that blurry a little while ago.
We're seeing strange
I
figures.
think they might have a tiny leak in their camera that's causing some condensation and it's making their vision very blurry.
Yeah.
What was the gentleman here earlier said? It sounds terrible. They said to stick a tampon in there.
Yeah.
So,
If it's a leak,
What was the guy's name? He was from Carl Hayden.
Lorenzo.
Lorenzo
Yeah.
from class of 2004 or class of 2006. He did it in 2004. I never would have thought of that, but that's kind of a brilliant idea.
Well, it's funny because the judges they had there were like divers and all that stuff. The guy comes up and he says, you know, we do that ourselves. And I never thought of this, but the hard hat divers, they have this big hunk of metal on their head. They're breathing out air, which is going to be moist and it's going to be warm. It's going to hit that helmet, which is cold from the seawater. And he says, you just have water running down your, he says, we do tampons and diapers and all that stuff and stuff it in the neck to absorb the water. Otherwise, but when you came out, you were just soaked.
Yeah. Wow.
Soaked and cold.
Are we unborn?
Says, yeah, we use that.
We go down to Antarctica. We wear these outfits that, basically when we jump on a C-130 to fly over, like say for example the Ross Ice Shelf or any part of the flying to Antarctica, they have it's called a Maverick, big orange thing, thick. You put on these huge bunny boots. You have these layers of 3 or 4 layers of clothing, and you feel kind of warm. You have to unzip the Maverick where you're flying, but if you crash, then that'll keep you warm for 24 hours, and then after that you'll probably die. But it's 24 hours is enough time for them to come in, and if you survive the crash, which probably you won't,
You've got a chance.
You have a chance. 'Cause if you're there, they'll fly you in 24 hours. If it's an austral summer in daylight, if it's nighttime, it's pretty much they can't go looking for you. It's you can say that when what he calls a hungyak, what he calls those big helicopters, like $400,000 an hour to fly. Those really big ones, double props.
Yeah.
That's how they get you out of. If they get, what happens if they have to get you out of the South Pole if emergency, they have to light up all this gasoline, and they come in. They'll usually come in to land. They won't usually take off. They'll send in some emergency expert to help you. In the North Pole area, this huge helicopter, double prop, flies in, and because you rescue and take you out, $400,000. Incredibly expensive journey.
It looks like one of the problems that the freshmen keep facing is that they have a really short tether.
Short leash. Well, when we talked to the freshmen the two students, one of the problems they had in their robot is with their 12-volt battery, when they used a 100-foot tether, they were getting a 3.6-volt drop in that communication line. Now, according to Ohm's law, vehicles I times R. So if you do the math, basically, it's a linear breakdown. So what they did is they went from 100 feet down to 50 feet. So you'd expect the voltage drop to go from 3.6 down to maybe 1.8 volts. Instead, when they made the reduction down to 50 feet, it went down to about, I think